You may think that a good presentation is to show your skill. A good presentation is to show your voice, how you speak so fluently. But the more advanced level is to actually deliver your message, to actually make people believe in you.
To show how much you have worked, you have put effort in your presentation, how much you will comprehend and understand, how much will you acknowledge those information inside your heart, not only in your brain, but inside your heart. And then you present it, you inspire people. You make sure that people will understand what you think and what you see. That is what this presentation mostly about.
It's result in the freedom that we had today. The freedom, the rights that we have today come from that speech. On September 12, 1962, President John F. Kennedy gave a speech at Rice University. In this speech, he addressed how Americans should join the space race against the Soviet Union in the efforts to go to the moon first. And that speech made the first moon landing ever in human history. That speech created a giant leap. These people have spoken and they have changed the world, right? So can you do the same? Thank you. Thank you.
Traditional total AI work problems are a lack of emotional intelligence, lack of creativity, and possible plagiarism. Well, if it's only partial AI and human work, the work could be more refined while still having opinions and facts. Here I have an example of a design made by AI for a topic I covered before in the past. The AI gave me all the answers and I didn't have to think. Well, if it was my AI that I think teachers should use, it should go along the lines of this response. You should prepare the creative design yourself. Instead of creating one myself, I'll give you a reference here. After you study using this material, you could make a design yourself. When you're finished, you can send me the results and I can give you feedback. So in conclusion, digital devices are very vital in a classroom, but they can also pose a major distraction. To strike a balance, I think teachers should regulate the time that using devices are. Also, I think that teachers and students should use personalized educational AI. And finally, we should restrict the time that we use our devices to maintain our mental and physical well-being.
And aliens might look really different from bacteria to intelligent life. And using the Drake equation, it can help us solve this problem. So if you've dealt with equations before, you know that there must be an answer. But with the Drake equation, there is no answer. It's just a way to help us organize our thinking. So N means the amount of technological civilization we might be able to detect. R star means the amount of stars in our galaxy. So should we prepare for war? Take this situation, and we are the Native Americans and the Europeans are the aliens. They try to colonize us. We don't have a chance against them. They have higher technology than us. So in order to develop mass destruction weapons to protect ourselves, we need to trust ourselves to not use it against each other. So you can see the war casualty over the years. It has gone down, so I believe in 100 years or so, it will continue to go down so we can trust ourselves with the mass destruction weapons we are using. So why did the Europeans colonize and have a lot of technology? They work together, they collaborate, they trade the technologies with each other, but the rest of the world they just work on their own. So scientists believe that near the center of the galaxy is where most habitable planets live, basically aliens. And take this scenario also like the Europeans. They might visit each other, they work, they share technologies. You can see our sun right there. It's pretty out of the galaxy, so you can't really find that much aliens to collaborate with.
And they just did not have the same opportunities as we did. So this year, I made some academic presentation, and I wanted to tell them and explain to them how to get them the motivation and dream high target of life by realizing they can also understand deeply. and I keep improving my coding skills. In the future, I will develop an IT company called Education. So the first app I will make is an app that helps them get better online education system and studying materials to develop this world will be. The South African anti-apartheid leader Nelson Mandela famously said that education is a great tool to fight poverty and inequality. And I hope this will be my contribution one day to make the world a better place for all children and people around the world. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Oh, I'm getting stressed right now. Oh, just leave it over there. I'll sit in the corner and play video games and just ignore the stress itself. Well, to me, audience, that is not stressing. That's laziness. You're neglecting your responsibilities. You're neglecting the duties that you have to do. And that's not utilizing your stress. What I mean by using your stress, how can you use something that is not usable?
So if you can utilize discipline and motivation at the same time, you can build a bridge at the start. You can start off strong and end strong, because motivation is like you building a bridge, and discipline is you constantly building and consistently building that bridge until you reach your desired goals. You work because you love that work. However, you work because you love that work, because you respect it. You respect it for what it is, and how far are you willing to sacrifice for it? You're working on the right road. Thank you.
First is energy from radiation, and second is the Maxwell's equation. So the first equation, the radiation energy from one photon, it is demonstrated by E equals hv and equals to hc divided by the wavelength, which basically means that energy equals to the vibration of objects. And second is the Maxwell equations. This describes how electric and magnetic fields work. So the Maxwell equations, E is it describes the electric field. The second one, differentiate of B, it describes the magnetic field. And the last two ones describes the magnetic field, the electromagnetic field property, and how the electric field is formed.
So you have to understand that in a normal star, we have nuclear fusion in the core happening with hydrogen in this case. And when it completely fuses, it turns into helium, which is in balloons and it is not combustible. After the helium, then when it is not combustible, it will have to fuse with the outer layer. Now that is the hydrogen that is in the shell of the star. As all combustions do, it explodes and creates a push force. That push force makes it bigger, dense, and hot. There's basically matter that's been going so fast because of this black hole pulling in, and it's orbiting so fast that it eventually starts to emit so much radiation. And we could eventually detect that radiation.
Organic matter and oxygen to make carbon dioxide and water. When BOD is high, this means the water is polluted. Let's take a look at the third result. We have compared pure water, farmland water, and fish tank water. In pure water and fish tank water, oxygen is 4 milligram per liter, but in the farmland water, it's 0.4. Why? Because it's high in BOD and high in microorganism. And this is also mean that the farmland water is polluted. Analysis. Aids and microbes are found in the area I said earlier. And bacteria is precisely confirmed through the result. And high BOD in farmland water indicate pollution from water pollution.
Which hold two things, proton and neutron. The neutron have cork and gluon in it, which is in the cork there are strings. And as I said, this string makes a dimension. So if we can't detect all of those, why can't we detect the strings? The quantum theory. The quantum theory is a standard model of elementary particles, and it had 30 particles on it. 3 main one is the lepton, quarks, and bosons.
It is a constantly evolving and a very interesting concept with science, ethics, clinical practice, and our belief that we can actually heal ourselves. And recognizing the limitations and the potential of this effect can actually lead us to a way that we can incorporate the power of it into healthcare. Thank you for listening.
And themselves only, not any other person but themselves. They think that they are the most important, they think that they are the best, and they all believe in themselves that way forever. And the thirdly is the most important thing that I have already mentioned: confidence. By having a high ego, you have a lot of confidence built up already by the fact that you are better. Because you're better, you are confident than all the others as how you perceive it as a high egoistical person.
Here's Einstein's photoelectric effect, where if sunlight heats up a metal plate, electrons will absorb the photons and the metal plate will release them as photoelectrons. The rest of the photoelectric energy is converted into kinetic energy. Solar panels do not absorb all color wavelengths. So based on my calculations on the formula, we can see that there is a minor difference in energy level of these color wavelengths. So that leads us to our problem. Solar panels does not absorb all color wavelengths. So our solution right now is to use perovskite solar cell because it can absorb a wider range of color wavelengths.
But why is this called disaster? The reason is that the nose is too short, making it difficult to breathe and unable to provide enough oxygen. They focus on desirable features, especially the short nose and the wrinkled skin. Or in this photo, you can see that.
One form that this disagreement takes place in between is government and the people. The reason? That is because the politicians inside these kept arguing over and over about which is right and which is wrong, leading to the overall distrust. It's way more often that ideas and opinions may clash with each other. And if you move your eyes towards this board over here, you can see that most of these discussions, mainly political discussions, are less respectful, likely to come with resolutions, civil, and are more angry, which basically means that these discussions don't just come out as normal discussions, but boil down into arguments with profanities being thrown around with no end in sight.
That will help the victim even if there are many people surrounds. So this makes many researchers curious about whether the function of the brains get involved in this process. And here it is. We have the structure of the brains. Firstly, the medial prefrontal cortex has been linked into prosocial behavior, like regularly helping others. Others suggest that choosing not to help someone may be an automatic response.
If the situation is so dangerous, it's out of control, and you cannot handle it, temporarily leave the victim alone, and then after come back to ask them if they're fine, if they're okay, or if they need your help. Overall, what's there we need law for? If the people just want to pretend that they care, they want to help, but because they're afraid of involved into law. So does the victim really helped or the situation safe? No, everything they do is sketchy. So we need to do is teach our children from when they was young age.
Since 1987, the former Soviet Union and America has signed a series of disarmament treaties that they will reduce their nuclear bombs by 80%. This sparkles a hope that maybe we could re-establish the 1987 miracle. Non-nuclear countries can cooperate with each other to maybe limit trade with nuclear-armed countries to force them to reduce their nuclear weapons, or not we will limit and put very, very high tariff for them. After all, they can negotiate with other nuclear-armed countries to set up a new world rule without nuclear weapons. So after we negotiate with each other and all of us agree to reduce nuclear weapons. So what do we do with the nuclear bombs now? We just throw it in the nature? No, that would be really, really bad. We could do it by countries can reduce nuclear bombs by turning it to nuclear energy. One nuclear pellet, uranium pellet, is equal to 1 ton of coal, which is 250 million kilowatts per hour. One nuclear bomb has an average of 64 kilograms of highly enriched uranium. If the United States converted all of its nuclear bombs into nuclear energy, the energy would be able to power the United States for 2 consecutive years. Also, countries can use the uranium of the nuclear bomb for much more better purposes such as isotopes, agriculture, medicine, biological studies, science, environmental tracing,
and should be banned by international law. However, let's trace the origins first. Well, PMCs originated from mercenaries, or mercs for short. They got so powerful that they even able to dispose one of the Roman emperors. Or during the late medieval time in Europe, a group called Condiotari, they emerged and they will fight for any European king if the money was good enough. Mercenaries were a serious problem. They did not listen to commands and often did whatever they want. And only in 2001 we see the United Nations do something against them by drafting the 2001 UNMC, or the United Nations Mercenary Convention against the use, financing, training, and equipping of mercenaries. This was definitely the right decision, but unfortunately, just like other conventions, this is not enforced properly even by UN nations.
The immune system against a tattoo. Variable of death. Now, as the largest organ in the body, the skin has many jobs, one of which is keeping pathogens, viruses, and bacteria out of your body. So it came up with an idea, and their outer layer of skin to become like living cells won't work. So it has only one option left, and that is dead cells. Stem cells hide down the dermis, clone themselves repeatedly for them to push the skin cells up, and when they get to the top layer, they die to form a layer of dead cells. So literally everybody is wearing a layer of dead cell right now. So the layer that we're tattooing on, so there are 3 main layers on our skin. One is the epidermis, second is the dermis, and the third is the hypodermis. The epidermis is the layer of dead cells I talked about. Dermis is where hair, capillaries.
One of them is called an AI lawyer controller. Now, ChatGPT 4 has passed the lawyer exam. And now, a lot of people say that ChatGPT 4 can now be a lawyer instead of humans. But, like I said, AI is like humans. It is not perfect. And humans can only understand humans. And AI sometimes underestimates humans and make a wrong answer or a wrong decision. Make a better AI, like ChatGPT or Bard and Bing. And some of the skills that AI developer needs to have is called machine learning algorithms. They will program an AI to learn by itself.
While happiness has many definitions, it is often described as involving positive emotion and life satisfaction. That explains that we each have our own perception of happiness. Then, how do we find happiness in life? In my opinion, I think we can achieve it through life purpose. So, what is purpose? Purpose is a thing that you were built for. It's a thing that guides you, and it is often performed by voluntary sacrifice. Self-sacrifice is a thing that you're willing to sacrifice, or you see things that greater than yourself. you have tend to find yourself a mission, which is called a mission.
You may be thinking about why you are sitting on a chair learning days and days, night and night for nothing. Let me tell you that you are a worth person. You maybe have a big goals, a big dream. Maybe if you started now and moving forward to your dream, you will be a successful business person or a famous person in the world. So just be motivated and positive. Never get someone negative talk about you in case they're just jealous of you.
Or we can also increase our literacy on the social media environment. We have to study and discover before we believe it's true. So here's my pie chart about the amount of fake information spread that study by a university in 2018. You see that 23% of the information you see is false.
46% compared to 23% of production gasoline vehicle. So therefore, they have shifting the emission from the car price to the electricity plants and the manufacturing firms. The second one is the battery components. Like to require and to produce the EV cars, they have to have the lithium-ion batteries.
The human activities depend greatly on our brains. But is our brain reliable? And why do mistakes occur? Why can't humans have perfect memory and use 100% of our brain's capability based on your memory of the suspect? This can lead to lots of troubles afterwards.
For causes biology, the exact causes of glossophobia now still unclear. However, genetic factors often play a huge role. Like many other phobias, glossophobia.
Feel free to express yourself. Feel free to express your opinion. If you have an opinion, we are sure that's valuable. Because every one of us is different and everyone thinks differently. So don't be scared of judgment, because judgment and failures are how people grow. And getting through challenges and overcome our fear is how we develop, and that's a part of our life. Thank you for listening.
Yes, xin cảm ơn Bill and Chloe.